Hey, and thank you for clicking play, and it's part 2 of the Mad Max Sega Megadrive. We'll come to do the Game Gear later, and we're going to see if we can clean this board up, and then we're going to see if it works. We're going to bench test this board during this video. So just a reminder, it has been sprayed. In fact, here's a quick recap of where this machine came from, found out in the bush, and all we've done so far really is pull it apart and try and clean up the outer case. So I'm going to try and clean up this motherboard today, and we'll bench test it as well, like I said. And the main thing is trying to clean out these pins and all the sockets. It's going to be a bit of a challenge, I think. So without having a cue what I was doing, I decided to start with giving this thing a bath of isopropyl, always pronounce that wrong, and just really giving this a coat. Keeping in mind I'd already sprayed through the unit anyway and got a lot of the red dirt out that way. So this was just sort of to try and dissolve some of that dirt in my mind, I guess. Power switch totally stuck solid, absolutely stuck solid with rust on it as well, so hitting that hard, and obviously hitting all the ports in, because to bench test this thing, those connections need to be clean. So hopefully I didn't overdo it. And then after that had sat for a bit, I then rinsed it off again, and I did give it a bit of a bath, just in water, nothing else in that. Keeping in mind this thing's been rained on, it's been hosed, and here's me hosing it off again. Rather than using the dishwasher and getting that sand dirt in my dishwasher, I just thought this was best. Let it dry, and yeah, just left it out in the West Australian sun to hopefully dry off properly. And then I hit it a few days, about a week later, just trying to use an air duster to, again, just get that stubborn red dirt out from all the cracks and crevices. And it was down to doing some hand cleaning. I wanted to avoid this, but it was just still so caked on. So some white vinegar just on all the areas. Nothing was fizzing, let me put it that way. It wasn't really hitting any corrosion or anything from, and I did do around the capacitors, not that you'll see it here. Nothing was fizzing, so there was no sign of leaks from caps or anything like that. And this wasn't doing a very good job of even getting the rust off. So again, just to neutralize that, isopropyl again, and I don't think, you know, less is more in this occasion. I think more is more, and especially through that cartridge slot, making sure I gave that a real good soaking in there. And then an old trick picked up off Mox Fix's stuff, so some paper towel around a credit card I'm actually using here. Well, it's not a credit card, it's actually a Palace arcade card for a barcade, but the pins, nothing was coming off the pins. Surprisingly, I was not getting any signs of debris in that cartridge slot, which is both phenomenal and also rather awesome. And again, just blowing out any debris that I then created myself with that kitchen towel. This is the heat sink, so just dunked that in the white vinegar in the hope that it would dissolve some of that rust and rubbish, and then tried to scrub it off, but this soon became very boring, so I did this. That's right, I cleaned it off again with some ISO, just to again neutralise the white vinegar. And then I did this. Yep, that's a wire brush drill bit. And here's another wire brush drill bit. This is the cleanest bit. Just smashing that back to bare metal for no reason whatsoever. And then obviously I was worried about metal filings on it, so I hit it with ISO again and gave it a good rub down. with that done, it was trying to free up this really stubborn switch. And again, you're getting the short version here, but I managed to move it with a screwdriver because I didn't want it to snap, basically. And then I managed to get it free moving. I just hit it with ISO and air duster and more ISO. So then I just took the opportunity to work in some ISO right inside that switch, in the hope that that would do the job. Okay, so that's as clean as that's going to be at this point in time, because this is an experimental phase, really. Does it even work as it is? And I think there's a bit of fun in seeing if it fires up in this kind of condition. We haven't replaced anything, we haven't fixed anything. If anything, we've broken something, because the LED, I think I actually binned when I took it apart, because that came off. But that's just an indicator, right? I'm pretty sure. It's not an integral part of the circuit. I don't think it's going to stop it from turning on without that. Even if it did, I could short that, but of course an LED, light emitting diode, diodes allow electricity to only flow in one direction, so either it's an LED for aesthetics, or there's a circuit protection in making sure the electricity flows the correct way. So not something I'm going to risk in terms of just shorting that out. I'm pretty sure you don't need it. So the main challenge is making sure the connectors are clean enough to make a connection, funnily enough. Because otherwise this is a non-starter. If that power connector isn't clean enough, I've hit it hard with IPA. And same with that. I mean, given we don't have an LED, the fact that we get a signal out of here is what's going to tell us if it's working. And I've also been told to not power it up without the heatsink back on, so we need to put that on. The IPA and everything's dried off, so I think we're good to give it a go. Before we fire this up, the thing that made me think that this had been tinkered with before was this pin here. Just move the camera across there. I'll zoom in with the camera, because I thought that was a blob of solder, but actually that's a resistor. So I think that's maybe from factory. And the other thing, some people said, oh, did you think because of the wires? No, those wires are factory. They're too neat a job. They're too purposeful, and they've got actual, pins on the board to go into. So I could tell that was from factory. Other than that, I'm assuming any ticks and marks on the chips are, again, factory testing. So that's that. Wish me luck. We have a black screen. The pins in the cartridge slot really aren't that dirty. That's the surprising thing about this whole thing. They're really not that dirty. Well, look, we got power. Something's happening because this will go blue if there's no signal to the screen. I can demonstrate that quite easily. It just goes blue. So either, obviously, potentially something's wrong. There's plenty of reason why this could not be working. Or it could just be a bit of niggling around with this cartridge slot. So now, look, bit of a reveal here. Basically, my mate Shane, who's lent me this cartridge, he popped round with a bit of a gift for me. He bought something off eBay, very cheap, thinking it was the HD version. I've got another Megadrive. But it wasn't working for him. It was doing exactly what this one is doing. It wasn't fully booting up. And so he brought it round. He said, you can have it. So I set it up. And he told me what it was doing. And I set it up in this very place, just as I'm going to do now. And he said, it's not working, so it's the same model as the one you're trying to restore. You might be able to use it for parts. Those were his words. Okay. Now, I hope it's not going to prove me wrong. But I plugged it in. It might not do it now, but this happened. See that? It friggin' works. Now, I don't have a controller here, and the battle station doesn't fully plug into this. Long story short, I need to build an adapter for my battle station joystick to work, or I'll just get a Megadrive controller. They're easy enough to come by. AV cable was from 8-Bit Anarchy, by the way. Thanks, Byron. I paid for it myself. Not a paid promotion, just letting you know where I get this stuff. That works great. So I've got a working Sega Megadrive now. Thanks, Shane. I owe you a beer. But look, this works. The AV works. The power works. But this was giving a black screen. It was doing exactly the same as this dirty motherboard was doing. And then it came good. So what I'm going to be doing before the next update is, well, let me know in the comments what you think it could be to cause that black screen. What's the most likely cause? What's the easiest thing we can swap out? I guess one thing I can do, and I seriously wanted this first bench test to be, we haven't changed anything. And that's what we've done. We've got power, we've got a signal, but we just don't have a game ROM or any kind of ROM loading. You know what we didn't try? We didn't try it without a cartridge in it. So we'll do that in a minute. But let me know in the comments what you think it could be. What I really should do is take off this RF modulator, because that's filth, and stuff going on in there could potentially be causing an issue. Let's try without a cartridge. So we get a black screen, so it's consistent. No cartridge gives a black screen. That's interesting. Have we just blown something now? Okay. Cartridge is still fine. I haven't blown up your cartridge, Shane. I haven't blown up your cartridge. But the fact that that behaviour has now changed, that makes me think it's something to do with the cartridge slot. I'm hoping just more cleaning is required. Okay guys, that's the end of part 2 for the Mad Max Megadrive. As you can see, we still get a black screen. I've done some more cleaning. I have passed a heat gun over the underside of the where the cartridge slot connects to the PCB. On the underside, I don't think it was really getting the heat, and I didn't, even though it wasn't getting the heat, I didn't want it to get too hot, if that makes sense. New to this, so it's, yeah, I think I'm pleased with where we're at in terms of we've now bench tested. Is this thing working out of the ground? Kind of. It gets power. It throws a black signal to the TV. Doesn't do much else. Doesn't read a cartridge at this point in time. And we do have a backup. But I don't want to. This is now too good to pillage parts from. So let me know. And there's no rush on this, but let me know in the comments. And if you're in contact with me through other social media things as well, you know, drop me a line. What do you think I should do next? What do you think I should try next? I'm still leaning, given that the behaviour changed slightly, I'm still leaning towards maybe it's just a dry joint on the cartridge slot, and that maybe actually what we need to do is pull that off. The pins, bizarrely, are squeaky clean on that. But maybe we need to pull that off, clean up the board underneath, resolder it in place, and see if that works. That's what I'm leaning towards. I will do some research, but I'm keen to know what you think. Thank you for watching.